So we've talked about stress, how it works, and the fact that it doesn't feel so hot. How can we deal with this better? And of course, in this class, we're doing our little cognitive triad. We're going to discuss ways that we can think differently, act differently, and feel differently, starting with how we can think about stress differently. And what I mean by this is that there are strategies we can use to, in some sense, change the way we think about stress. When I talked about stress before, I sort of threw up this picture here, and you all kind of nodded and resonated with it. I think this is a sort of framework we think about when we think about stress. We usually think about stress as bad. It's hurting my performance, I'm doing worse at work, I'm not being as good of a mom because I'm so stressed, it's hurting my body. We think stress is just like bad overall for us. That's just one way we could think about stress. We could have a different thought pattern about stress, a different argument about stress, where we said, maybe this stress that I'm feeling, maybe it's actually helping my performance. We don't think about that, but I just talked to you about the biology of how stress works. This is a little bit of a nerdier version of it, of what's happening with the fight or flight system. But the goal is that, your pupils are dilating, you're getting more increased blood pressure, your heart's changing, your liver is actually converting glycogen to glucose. It's basically giving you energy that you can use when you need it. Like, this is a system that's there for you to have go time. Like, this is you at peak performance. This is you on, right? We could think about these moments where we feel a lot of stress as like, hey, thanks, body, for giving me a little bit of extra go time. If you're a fan of this movie, Fast and the Furious is like this cheesy Vin Diesel movie. They have the NOS, like the extra, like this is the NOS system that was built into us by evolution to kind of help us out, right? And so that's just a different framing we could take about stress, maybe an accurate one from the perspective of biology, not one that we tend to take a lot, right? But you're like, well, that's just how you think about stress. That's not going to affect anything, right? Turns out, no. Study after study is now starting to show that what you believe about how stress is going to affect you affects how you're actually affected by stress. In other words, the way you talk to yourself about stress and how it's working is going to change the way that stress works in your body physiologically. How do we know this? Well, we know this from a bunch of different studies. I'll tell you about the one that took place at Yale, because I'm at Yale, and so I like all the Yale folks. This is some work by Alia Crum and her colleagues, where she brings adults and college students to the lab and teaches them about the biology of stress, either kind of telling them the same thing I told you about the fight or flight system and showing, hey, this is giving you lots of energy, this is helping you out, this is your gas system, it's actually good for you to push through crisis times. That kind of framing, or the usual framing of like, oh, stress sucks, it causes inflammation, it's really bad for you, right? And then she tries to see how this framing affects college students' performance later on when they're given a tough problem. And what she finds is two interesting things. One is that students that got that framing of like, hey, stress is pretty good for you, it's good for your performance, it's enhancing, they wound up performing better than the students who heard the same kind of blurb that we usually think about, oh, stress is so bad for you, right? But the coolest part of her study is she follows up with students physiologically. And she finds something really interesting. If you measure, for example, students' cortisol, like one of these normal stress hormones that would spike when your fight or flight goes up, both groups of students had their cortisol spike, but the ones who thought about stress as enhancing, it spiked, and then it went back down again more quickly. It's doing what the stress response is supposed to do, right? Rather than keeping it alive, right? And you can think about like, well, how did that work, right? Well, how that works is if you're like, oh my God, this stress is killing me. I'm doing so much worse. Now I'm beating myself up because I was stressed at work and now I've come home and I've said something to my kid and I don't, like, you're keeping it alive. So obviously the cortisol is like running and running and running. So the idea is that changing the way we think about stress might be a really key way to not necessarily just only change the way stress affects us, but it's a way to change the way stress affects us that's under our control. These thought patterns take a little bit of intention and work to change around, but they're a powerful hack to how our bodies are working. We don't get many ways to hack into this system that's like not under our voluntary control, but it turns out our thought patterns are one way. And so the way we think differently is to say the next time you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed, like this is, take a pause and remember, you know what? This is not my body trying to kill me. This is like my body trying to help me. My body has noticed something that it sees as go time. This is going to help me. This is awesome, right? Reframe it like that and watch the way that self-talk percolates into your performance. This is also a great strategy, I think, to give our kids. All too often our teens like, oh my gosh, I have this test coming up, I'm so scared, I'm so stressed, I'm gonna just help them reformat it. Like, that's awesome. Like, that's your billions of year old fight or flight system helping you out. Did you know that you're getting extra energy when you're feeling that? It's gonna be awesome for the SAT or for that test. That simple reframing is gonna change the way you perform, but it's also gonna change your biology over time. An awesome way to think differently and affect the way that stress is affecting you.